Howdy folks. So I don't do these kind of videos too often, but these last few weeks I've been feeling some kind of way. So strap yourselves in, cause it's gonna be a bumpy ride. So one morning a few weeks ago I went out to walk my dogs like I always do, and who pulls up in front of my house? A code enforcement officer. I knew what this mafia looking dude was up to the second I laid eyes on him. You see, 3 days prior, my next door neighbor, who put his fancy schmancy house 2 inches from mine, comes up to me and says, "Hey Christina, I was wondering if I could cut this tree down and all these plants and put up a nice picket fence." Nice try. You see, he's the kind of guy that spends his free time pressure washing his house and blowing leaves all around. I like having the shade and a little buffer zone for some privacy. But you know, I'm a good neighbor, so I'm like, okay, if you want to cut the tree so it doesn't fall on your car, just want to keep the rest of it, you know, so I have my privacy. Okay, so fast forward 3 days. This big, bald, mafia-looking dude with a gold chain gets out of his code enforcement car and says to me, "Are you Christina?" That's Christina the Astonishing. And he says, "I've got a notice of violation here. You better cut that grass, clean up all this overgrowth." And I'm like, overgrowth? Overgrowth? This is a bee habitat. Can't you read? Well, apparently he doesn't care about the continuation of life on the planet, because without the bees, we won't have kiwi and Brazil nuts and watermelon and black-eyed peas and pumpkin and persimmons and cotton and cranberries and coffee. So what does he think? We're gonna create artificial food in a lab and eat it out of plastic packaging? And he looks at me with his scary mafia eyes and he's like, "You got 3 weeks. And he gets into his code enforcement mobile and tears off to terrorize another unsuspecting sovereign individual. As annoyed as I was by that vexatious interaction, I was like, 3 weeks? I'm gonna wait until the last minute. There's no sense in cutting the grass now and having it all grow back by the time he rolls his shiny cue ball head around again." Turns out that mafia dude went down the street to terrorize a little old lady. You see, what's really going on here is our quaint little rundown ghetto is being gentrified up the wazoo. And they're building all these fancy schmancy houses, including the one that's 2 inches from me. And that violation notice said that we're bringing down the value of their houses when they infiltrated our neighborhood. Now they want us to keep our houses up to their rich people standards. Next year my house will be 100 years old. I've lived here for 22 years. Nobody's ever raised a stink before. And you know, one of the health numbers that they listed on the violation was for a suicide hotline. They know what they're doing. They know that people like us might lose hope, and those of us that have lived here for decades just want to be left alone. So yeah, I texted my neighbor and I said, "Well, looks like you're gonna get your way after all." After a few weeks, I'm like, I better get to work. And my neighbor didn't do anything, so I'm out there working on the fence, and he comes out and he's like, "You know, I could get my guys out here and we could dig up these plants and haul them away, and I'm really glad I'm able to help you and be of service, and I believe in loving your neighbor as yourself." And I'm like, I didn't ask for no help. All I'm saying is that if you want to put up your little picket fence, fine, go for it. I'm not asking for any favors here. This is what you wanted the whole time. Don't act like you're doing it for me. Now keep in mind that I have a pathological aversion to asking anybody for help. My sister says it's my ego, and I said to her, "Screw you!" I didn't really say that. I just told her that I don't wish to incur any unspoken debt of obligation to anybody. I don't want to incur any kind of debt. And it's not like I can afford to hire anybody to do the work. I gotta buy hay for the I gotta buy hay. So one day while I was working, I realized that my deadline was coming up, and if that mafia dude comes back and I'm not there to intercept him, and all he got to do is go up to the top of my steps and look over my fence, and he's gonna see my... Now I gotta build a taller fence. So I run out and buy some pickets, and I'm out there till dark screwing in those pickets, and I'm like real paranoid now, and I think I might have to like change my identity or maybe fake my own death. If that's even possible anymore. And I think I might need to relocate. Well, I managed to get an extension, so that bought me a little bit of time. But once I cleared out all the overgrowth, then you could see my house. I gotta repair all the rotten wood, and I gotta paint, and so I'm out there working and sweating and working and scraping paint. And my neighbor comes up and he's like, "Hey Christina, what you doing?" What does it look like I'm doing? Getting a pedicure? Listen, I am 52 years old and my dadgum patience is running on E. And you know what I did? I confronted that dadgum mother feller. I think he turned me in. Well, he didn't see that one coming. He's like, well, he said a lot of words that made it sound like he didn't do it, but he never said he didn't do it. And I'm like, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But then he says, "How's the fence looking in the back?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, how's the fence looking in the back? It's fine." And then I'm like, maybe it's not fine. Maybe he was the one who turned me in after all, and he's just dropping clues for me. So now I'm like, I gotta cut all the trees off the fence, and I'm out there lassoing trees and roping them to the goats, to the fence, so that the trees will fall into my yard and not into his yard. And I got my chainsaw out there, and one of the trees just decided to twist, and it just went down sideways right on top of the fence and cracked the border. Technically, that's my fence because I built it when they bought that lot. Put that there to protect my privacy. And you know, I ended up having to get rid of my ginormous rooster Blondre. He would always holler at anybody who wandered into the empty lot, you know, like drug dealers and stuff. And I knew that when he started building his house, the inspectors would come around inspecting, and Blondre was gonna holler at them. So that was gonna get their attention, and then they were gonna see my... Blondre was a good guard chicken. He guarded my property with iron talons. I just hope he wasn't too rough on the kid who adopted him. You know, I just miss the good old days when I had an overgrown lot on one side, rednecks on the other, and illegal immigrants in the back. The days when a sovereign being could express their unique aesthetic, and it didn't matter if you were poor or disabled or elderly or homeless or blonde. People would respect your right to privacy, freedom, and shade. The world is growing more tyrannical by the day, and if we don't have sovereignty over our own property, what's next? They're gonna take away our sovereignty from our own bodies? You know they're trying. So my final deadline came and went without incident, so I guess I'm in the clear for now. But the bees are all gone, and my chainsaw bit the dust, and the lizards are all looking at me like, what have you done? And my neighbor never did take out that tree in the driveway. I mean, he did clear out the old chain link fence, and he did dig up all the plants, and he stuck some little nubby things in there, and now I have an unimpeded view of his lovely smart meter. So I usually only try to make videos when I'm feeling optimistic and positive. I'm sorry if I shattered anybody's illusions that I'm always a happy-go-lucky hippie hillbilly. I'm a real human being with ups and downs just like everybody else. Thank you for letting me vent. May you all be filled with peace. May you all be filled with love. And I send to you empathy for whatever struggles you are going through right now. May you face adversity with strength, courage, and integrity.